So we're going to look at creating these shoes now on the sheep. So I'm just going to show you an easy way of doing that. And just a little tip, this is just some packaging from a parcel that I had delivered, and when I'm doing sculpts it's good to use this for, you know, using rather than my mat. I'll use my mat for when I'm looking at shaping around, but it's great to use something like this. And what's good about these polystyrene is actually you can pop your needles in them, and it's quite handy. I could save all these because I use them for wet felting as well. So, but I quite like this one because it's quite big. So I'm just going to show you at this stage, you will have covered your legs, and we're going to look at doing the shoes. So I'm calling them shoes or socks. I prefer socks actually, because if you look to do hooves, which obviously you can if you want to do that, but there's a lot more felting involved. So if I show you this way with it, now obviously because this is wire, you can move them about. So I've decided with these that I'm going to use a merino, but honestly you use whatever. If you've got a bit of brown or black carded, if you've got merino, if you don't have black or brown, feel free, use any colour. Don't go and buy, you know, wool just for these socks, I guess is what I'm saying. So I've got a piece of merino here, and I'm just gonna smooth that out in my hands. So the easiest way of doing this, because I want quite a neat line here, so I would just hold it there with my other hand in place, and I'm literally just gonna wrap this around, and you can see there it's covering really quite well on that. I'll just come back on myself a little bit. It's starting to fray a little bit, that piece. Okay, so when I've got that like that, I'm using a 42. You can use a 40 or 42 needle for merino. Remember, you've got wire in here, so I'm very gently poking, and what I'm doing, I'm starting with this top line where it meets the leg. Now if you just very gently go downwards, just poke gently downwards around, and then come out and do the same, and you can just turn the sheep around, turn the leg around. So I don't want to cover the camera if I can. And again, just poke just to get this into place. I'm going to move that piece I've got there now and do that around, and again just poke. So all we're actually doing at this stage is just very gently putting it into place. If you've got little straggly bits there, if you just lift them gently with your needle and then poke them in. Okay, I'm going to turn it around. And just poke those in gently. This merino I've got has got some long hairs in as well, but I can trim those, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. So you can see there with very little poking, that's actually held into place. Now I'll carry on just poking that gently, because I know that I've got a wire in there. So what that's doing at the moment, that merino is attaching like when you did the leg with that wool that you've added, and that's why I think using recycled jumpers is a really good way with when you're using armatures. I think especially if you're new to them, I always think like you need that bit of a helping hand. So if you're using pipe cleaners, that's fine. You just need to go a little bit easier. So we're just going to repeat what we did. It can be a bit fiddly this, so you'll find your flow. I like to always have a tail, hold the tail and I'm just going to wrap around here at the bottom. Now you'll start to see where this is that bit of jumper that I've got, but I'm just going to carry on right to the edge there. Hold it to the side. Watch your fingers, ladies. I have stabbed myself a few times doing this make. Don't worry about what this looks like. I'm going to show you how to do that. The main thing here is that we're fixing the wool to the bottom part of this leg to create the illusion of like the hoof, the sock. Okay, carry on with that. Now at this stage, I'm going to move this, and I'm just going to bring my felt mat in, because now I can lean it on its side and I've got some protection there. Again, I'm poking gently. If you're using carded, but easier, ladies, than merino, but it's just, this is what I had, so I'm just using what I had. Go to the end and then just lift. Okay, so if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just creating a shape that starts here, comes out and goes in, and I'm leaving a little bit at the end here, and that's because that's longer than the wire. I can add a little bit more wool on there, and I can actually then, as I've done here, I can create that illusion of a long hoof. But if you see there now, I can felt right there because the wire is here. So I'm just coming out a little bit longer there. So at the minute, this looks fluffy, but we all know that to get rid of the fluff, we just felt. And if it moves, don't worry about it. You can just turn it around and just gently poke sideways and go in. So we continue doing that. Remember to turn it over, especially with merino, because it just sticks. Now, I don't know if you can see here, I've got a little bit of the white showing through. So literally, all I will do with that is just get a little bit more wool. I think I've put my mat on top of my wool. Yes, I have. Get a little bit more wool. And if you're using merino, you wrap. If you're using carded, just pull a little bit off, ladies. I'm going to go to the end with that. Okay. Now see this tail, a little trick. Wind it around and just felt that in. Okay. So we just keep poking and we keep shaping. We turn that over. And at some point, you're going to be ready to start bringing that in. So I always start by just going around, go around the edge and get the shape that you want. And see what I'm doing here with the needle, just very gently poking in. And I'm getting that shape. And then I'm going to turn it sideways now. So I'm going on the top and I'm going to poke on the top. And I'm going to keep doing that until I'm happy with the shape. So literally what you want is a little bit fatter going into a thinner, like almost like toe shape. If you looked at a pair of fancy dance shoes, I can't wear now, I'm afraid I can. I used to squash my feet in these very tight shoes. So you can see what I'm doing here. Just going in very gently. I don't want to touch that wire. And this wool is just behaving beautifully today. And it's giving me that lovely shape that I'm looking for. Keep turning it round, ladies. Hardly any effort there at all. Now, one of the things that you'll find with merino, and particularly when you're felting on an armature, we have to be really careful. Obviously, you know, if with this on the top, I can really, you know, I can go in, I can get that end of my needle in, no problem at all. But here, we've got to be really, really careful. And you might finish it, get the shape that you want. You know, there's still a bit more felt in there, but just for effect. So if I have small, well, I guess for you, it's making sure that you are felting it and you're not going to cut too much of that off. But say I wanted to get rid of that, I've got these little I use these for embroidery nips, and just very gently, so maybe I'll show you on one that I've done. There's still a little bit of fluff there and it just neatens them up. You have to be really careful because you don't want to ruin your make and put a hole, but if you just go near the edge, you'll just give those socks a nicer finish. Yeah, because like I say, you know, it can be hard to do that. So I'm going to leave you to finish those, get the shape, and once you're happy with how that looks, what I want you to do is get your make and just reshape, you know, get it standing up, have a look. I've still got a bit more felting to do on that hoof, ladies, but I just want to show you. So I can press down for it standing, press down, and it helps you to level those feet so that they all stand up. And in terms of this part, so making the wire armature, adding that wool, doing the legs, so getting that nice funnel shape on the legs and a slimmer leg, you know, to get the smoothness that you want on the legs, you are literally just with your needle, you're poking. Sideways poke gives a lovely top finish. This is something you're going to be using when you do the face. You know, getting those legs finished. Now with this, an awful lot, probably up to there, is going to be covered with fur, but if you're doing curly fur, you might want to leave a little bit more of the leg. But you just play around getting that into position that you want. Think about your make and feel, you know, is it firm, because you're going to be adding fur to that, and if it's not firm, it's going to be harder for you. Can I feel the wire? Do I need to add a bit more? Add there. Do I want it to have a little bit of a lower belly? Add your wool on there. How are my legs looking? You know, we're not looking for perfection here, but do they roughly look the same? What about the socks? Are they looking the same? The front bit here where we're going to attach a neck, we're going to attach a neck and a head. Have I got enough wool there? Am I feeling the wire? So they're all things that I want you to think about ahead of us creating the neck and the head and the ears. And then the final stage, which is going to be adding the fur to that. Now, if you decide with your make that you want to add with the sheep, if you think on the hoof they have a little bit of a line there to split it. So I've got some black merino here. You just twist it. So if you wanted to create that on one of these socks, you would literally just hold that over, and you would fell in the middle. So just poke in the middle to start with, and very gently poke. And once you have that in place where you want it, you can either trim the edge, or you can hold your needle in, make sure it's felted in the wool, and then just very gently pull it away. And then any bits that you've got left, you can felt that in. But I'm happy with how these are. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so that's the end of this workshop. I would love you to share where you get up to on your project. So you can follow me at Sally Bonnie Fibre and Art on Facebook or on Instagram, and please share your makes. Let me know how you're doing. If you've got any questions, post them on there. If you're struggling with something, post a picture and I'm happy to help you. Okay, so happy making, and I look forward to seeing your Herdy sheep very soon.